Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 180th installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Chukas here in Eretz Yisrael. Everyone else is holding by Parshas Korach. You can watch my video I made last week on Parshas Korach, Parshas Chukas, all about the red heifer and about the divine decree. That's what the red heifer was, the divine decree. Doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make logical sense. We have the death of Miriam. We have the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu hits the rock. It's punished for not going into the land of Israel. We have the death of Aaron. Plenty more to speak about here. So Torah tells me, beginning of chapter 21, verse 1, the Canaanite king of Arad dwelled in the south, heard that Israel had come by the route of the spies, and he warred against them. Right? He went to war against them, took a captive from it. Verse 2, this is the verse we want to see. And that is, Israel made a vow to Hashem and said, if you deliver this people into my hand, I will consecrate their cities. Right, I'll consecrate their cities. So Rashi over here says, what does that mean? What does it mean we're going to consecrate their cities? What it means is, I'm going to sanctify the money. I'm going to sanctify the money, take the booty and give it to God. Right? I'm going to give it, it's going to go for spiritual endeavor. Right? It'll go to the temple. It'll go for something spiritual. Right? So explains the Rashbam, the grandson of Rashi, and the Targum, the Aramaic translation, and Targum Yonasan, the translation of Yonasan, Rav Yonasan ben Uziel, says, what is the language over here of haroma? Doesn't mean to sanctify. You're not going to sanctify the booty. It means destroy it. Right? That's what it seems like. Seems like it's a language of being destroyed. So, says Moiv Rebbe, Arav Agon Moshe Shlita, should be well, brings down in his commentary on Chumash in Tam V'das, and he says the wonder. He says the wonder over here, because there's a mitzvah to destroy the seed of Amalek, to destroy their name, and destroy them for the world. And also their money. Same with their money. As Rashi says at the end of Parshas Chukas, right? There shouldn't be any name of Amalek in the world. Nothing. No remembrance. No remembrance. Nothing. So according to the first explanation, how can it be? How can it be permissible for the Jewish people to sanctify the booty to God? Because the Canaanites over here we're talking about, it's really the Amalekites. Right? Because Rashi says in verse 1, it's that over here is talking about the Amalekites. They lived in the south, changed their language to the language of the Canaanites. So the Jewish people pray to God, right, that the Canaanites should be placed in their hands. And they're not Canaanites. Right? They're really Amalekites. They speak the language of the Canaanites. Good. So even if the Jewish people pray, it's not going to help because they're Amalekites, not Canaanites. Now, why this would apply, why this would even help, why they would care. They don't believe in God. Right? They don't believe in supernatural. So what do they care? They pray for them or against them. What's the difference? Right? They don't hold by it, but that's not the point. Right? That's not what the point over here. Point over here is that how could they sanctify the booty according to this explanation? They're not allowed to sanctify the booty because everything that belongs to Amalek, if we know who Amalek is, their property gets destroyed. 100% the property's gone. So the property's gone, what are we talking about? So he says, the Rebbe says, you can answer like this. So he brings down in his book Modim Uzmanim, right? Modim Uzmanim, second part. With there, he's got a lot of things about the holidays and Talmud that deals with the holidays on Tractate Megillah and Tractate Psachim, deals with Passover, etc. He says over there, he explains the mitzvah of wiping out Amalek. So he says, what's the mitzvah? He says the mitzvah can only be established when you're able to destroy them 100%. If you can only destroy them partially, then it's not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah to do it. Even though we don't know who Amalek is today, regardless, he's talking about the mitzvah of wiping out Amalek, right? Of destroying their name, right? So there should be no remembrance of Amalek, we mentioned before. So the mitzvah is only if you can totally wipe them out. If you can totally destroy them. Right? Because you can't have remembrance, bitakas hashamayim, from underneath heaven. Can't be any remembrance whatsoever of Amalek. And that's the purpose of the mitzvah. Now, even in the time of King Saul, right? Even in the time of King Saul, that Amalek was there. Amalek was around. So he got a command to wipe them out. And the fact that King Saul had compassion, right? He didn't wipe everybody out. They left the king around, and he left their animals around so they could sacrifice the animals. Right? Regardless, they're basically destroyed. Right? He almost did the mitzvah. He didn't finish the mitzvah. But pretty much all the people were destroyed. He just left over the king, and he left over the oxen. Right? He left over animals that he's going to sacrifice. But here, at the time of Moshe, good. That's in the time of King Saul. Even though he failed, and even though he really didn't do the mitzvah fully, seemingly they're wiped off the face of the map. Right? Except for the king. What about the time of Moshe? Time of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Amalek does not come to fight against the Jewish people, as they did before. Right? That wasn't the point over here. So therefore, they're not wiped off the face of the map. They're still there, like in the time of Saul. Right? Like the time of King Saul. So in that case, since it's still around, how can it be? They can wipe them out. They didn't fulfill the mitzvah. The mitzvah wasn't done. If the mitzvah wasn't done, then guess what? They can get benefit from their property. That wouldn't be an issue. Right? The only time it'd be forbidden is if there's nothing left of them. Right? The idea being that there's not supposed to be anything left. So therefore, how can you take their booty? Right? How can you take their property and sanctify it? Not only get benefit from it, you got to destroy them. Right? But in this case, the command wasn't to fully destroy them. They couldn't. Right? They couldn't do it. Even in the time of Haman, Mr. Haman himself, then what happened when he was killed and his sons were killed? So the property went to Mordechai. Right? Went to Mordechai and Esther. If you're not allowed to get benefit, you're supposed to destroy it. How in the world can Mordechai and Esther take the property? So the answer is they didn't do the mitzvah. Right? The mitzvah cannot be done properly. If the mitzvah couldn't be done properly, they're allowed to get benefits. Right? Just like we said before. So people of Amalek are also not in one place. They're spread out all over the world. Or not the people of Amalek, let's say better, Jewish people. Right? Jewish people totally spread out all over the world only when they dwell in their land. Right? All together. Meaning when the Messiah comes, and the time of the coming of the Messiah should come soon, speedily in our days, then they can fight with all their might, fight against the offspring of Amalek, and destroy his name from underneath the heavens. So, this is a powerful thing. Right? It needs further clarification. Right? Because people will say, Torah is very violent. Here God gives the command, I want you to wipe them out. I don't want any remembrance of them in the world. Not from them, not from their property, nothing. So you have to think, okay, it's a divine command. We don't fully understand what God wants. We still have to try to understand to the best of our ability. But at the end of the day, God makes a command. And God says, I want them wiped out. Now, let's look back at Amalek. They were the first nation after the Jewish people on the biggest roll of their lives. Totally decimate Egypt, come into the desert, get the Torah Mount Sinai. Right? They get the Torah Mount Sinai, comes on Amalek, decide to fight against them. I mean, the world power gets totally destroyed. Wiped off the face of the map. Everybody knows about it. Why in the world would you fight against them? You got a nation that's on the biggest roll of their life. Now you want to fight against them? You want to start up with them? Not such a good idea. So Rashi brings down the Medrash, and Rashi says that even though they know some of them are going to die, what do? What is it akin to? What is it similar to? Similar to someone who jumps into boiling hot water. What happens when you jump into boiling hot water? You get burnt. So one person jumps in, he dies. Second person jumps in, he dies. Third person, fourth person, fifth person, but after a while the water gets cooled off. Right? So even though they know many of their people are going to die, it doesn't matter. They'll keep fighting. They'll keep going against the Jewish people till they mess up. Till they do something God doesn't want, and God will punish them. So, is that enough? Would that be enough in God's eyes to destroy the Jewish people? Could be. But there has to be something else going on. I would normally say, okay, they want to start off with the Jewish people when the Jewish people are in the greatest role of their life. That, again, even if they want to fight against them, does that mean they should be wiped out? Totally? I don't know if I go so far to say. Okay, fight against them, beat them. I mean, totally wipe them off the face of the map, no remembrance, nothing. A little bit hard to say. So what are we told about Amalek? What did Amalek bring to the world? Amalek brought to the world this idea of doubt. Amalek does not believe in the supernatural. Right? That's how Mr. Haman himself gets killed. Because he's begging for his life on Esther's couch. Talmud tells us he gets pinned down by angels. So Achashverosh goes outside, sees his beautiful garden getting destroyed, and says, hey, who told you to do this? And all these malachim, all these angels, first time an angel ever told a lie, said, Haman, Mr. Haman told us to do it. So he's getting angrier and angrier. Comes back into the house, he sees Haman pinned down on his wife's couch, his wife's bed. He's like, you scoundrel, what are you doing? You're going to try and take my queen right in front of my face? And then God opened his eyes. God opened up the eyes of Haman. And what does he see? Haman sees angels. And God shows him these angels are pinning him down. Now once he's being pinned down, he can't move. So Achashverosh is like, get up! Now what's he going to say? I'm being pinned down by angels? They laugh at him. They say, come on, you're Amalek. Amalek, you don't believe in supernatural? That's it, killed by his own motto. So, Amalek brought this idea of doubt to the world. Doubt meaning doubt or seemingly non-belief in God. Also in the supernatural. So a lot of people today talk about the supernatural or God in general. People are very skeptical. People have their own ideas what they think God is. God is made in their own image. Whatever they think. Remember when I was a kid, we were asked, draw a picture of God. What does God look like to you? So what would most people draw? An old man with a long white beard sitting on the throne. That's what people would draw. Is that what God is? Just sits on the throne? Life is complicated. A lot of things that go on in the world. God's in charge of. Read the book Derech Hashem by the Ramchal. Right? By Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, blessed memory. The way of God discusses how spiritual forces work. Right? How God dictates what they do. They don't have free will. They can't act on their own. Right? All these different things. Right? It shows how the world works. Physical world, spiritual world, all like the Matrix. Right? Sounds 100% like the Matrix. But over here, they brought this idea that there's no such thing as supernatural. Right? Everything by them is to bring doubt in the world. To take God out of the world. Right? To make God irrelevant, so to speak, in the world. To weaken Him. Weaken His power. Right? So when there's evil in the world, and there's more evil than goodness, evil is stronger. In other words, always a fight between good and evil. If evil is stronger, good sort of gets demolished. And if goodness is stronger, evil gets demolished. When's the only time evil is going to get totally destroyed? That's at the end of days. That's exactly what the Messiah is supposed to come and do. Kill the evil inclination, what we call the angel of death, the, Mr. S, whatever you want to call him. He gets killed in the end. Right? He gets destroyed, and whoever survives will be doing God's will. Right? There will be no evil inclination. But the whole point of Amalek in the world is to bring these doubts. Right? Is to bring these doubts that there is no supernatural. That there is nothing beyond anything. There is no next world, God forbid. There's no reward. There's no punishment. Things just happen. You could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And a lot of things could happen in your life, but it could be your bad luck. It's like, some of Job's friends. As they say in the book of Job, it's your bad luck. All these things happened. Right? They happen because, the way the moon, the stars, the way the celestial bodies are hanging out. Right? You were born under a certain thing, and that's it. And that's why you're going through this. Doesn't necessarily have to do with your actions. Right? One explanation. One positive explanation. So Amalek brings to the world this idea that there's doubt, tremendous doubt in anything beyond what I can see. Right? It sounds like the Greeks. In many ways, take Aristotle, Socrates. What did they believe in? Whatever the mind could fathom. If the mind couldn't fathom it, it didn't exist. Right? Out of mind, out of sight. So, here you're talking about some of the greatest philosophers, in the secular world. But they couldn't fathom anything outside what they couldn't understand. So Amalek took it a step further. Right? Or took it in a different way. Right? He didn't say that. He said there is no supernatural. There is no God. There is no nothing. Not worried about that. Not just what I don't see, I don't understand. He said there's nothing there. Go in the cosmos, go see. You see God there? Where is He? What is He doing? And anything that happens, you're not in control. Could be your bad luck. That's dangerous. That's extremely dangerous. So therefore comes along God Himself, and God says, I give people free will. I give them the choice to rebel against me. But some are so bad, and what they do in the world is so bad, even though I allow them to exist, I gave a special command to the Jewish people 100% to wipe them out. That's what I want. I let them say what they want, but I give a special command. Because we're the conscience of the world. Right, the Jewish people are certainly the conscience of the world, as Hitler Yamach Shemo V'Zichro said. May his name be blotted out, may rot. We are the conscience of the world. We brought absolute morality to the world. Nobody wants to hear they're going to get punished for what they do. Nobody wants to hear there's reward and punishment. People want to do what they want. I have to take responsibility for my actions. Come on. In the secular world, I understand I have to a point. Right? Otherwise, society won't survive. If people did whatever they want, there's no repercussions. Society will look 10 times worse. At least it's a deterrent. If a person does something, they'll go to jail, or whatever the case is. But there'd be no deterrent, this world would be chaos. Right? 100% absolute chaos. So this mentality, right? We don't know who Amalek is today. Some say that the cruelty of the Germans, they were Amalek. Could be. But since Sinchayr mixed up all the nations, we don't know who Amalek is today. Because if we did, there'd be a mitzvah to wipe them out. But Rebbe is saying here, the only time that can be is when the Messiah comes. Right? Maybe on an individual basis here and there, but only when the Messiah comes. That's when we're going to be able to do the mitzvah in the fullest way. Right? Otherwise you won't be able to do it. So therefore, their booty is allowed to be taken. Because the mitzvah doesn't apply yet. Even though King Saul was given the command, okay, he didn't fulfill it. But the way we beat it out of our heads, even though we want to go in the right path, go in the straight and narrow path, what does the person have to think? The person has to think at all times, God's the one who runs the world. There is no such thing as Amalek would say, it's a mikra ba'alma. Right? If something happens, Stam, right? Stuff happens. It was a chance happening. That's what Amalek believes. So when that philosophy goes rampant, and everyone and their mother says it, and stuff happens, what happens, you take God out of the world. You make God weaker. How can you make God weaker? Does his power change? No. Does his ability to reward and punish change? No. It only makes him weaker because we don't see him. Right? God's invisible today. We're living in a world of Hester Panim. Hester b'toch Hester Panim. God's hiddenness within hiddenness. We don't see him. We don't see the results of what goes on and how he's running things and what he does. We don't see it. It's not clear. Right, so that Amalek, or people with this philosophy, will now try to ram down people's heads and say, see, tell me where God is. The most common thing people say was, where was God during the Holocaust? Why did he let so many Jews die if he's all good? Okay, it's a big philosophical question. Why bad things happen to good people? It's a legitimate question. Not just a question for this generation. It's a question for all generations. That's all true. But at the end of the day, you have to understand how the world works. You have to understand God has to reward those people, even if they're not going to have a portion of the world to come, if they did one mitzvah in their life. The mitzvah was help Granny cross the street and they helped. Got to get rewarded. Right? He can't go against his own system. So therefore, he'll pay them back for the mitzvah they did. They'll get tremendous reward in this world, i.e. fame, power, all these things, wealth. But when they die, they die. That's it. Nothing happens after. They don't have a portion of the world to come. Take somebody who's righteous. You take someone who's righteous, and since he's so close to the king, every minor infraction, what's going to be? He's going to pay a serious price. Why is he going to pay a serious price? Because he's close to the king. If he wasn't so close to the king and he messes up, no big deal. Maybe he loses his job, maybe something else. But if he's very close to the king and he messes up, then what's going to be? The punishment will be that much more severe. So we're living today in an Amalekite world. In a world of doubt. I mean, it's hard to say doubt today, in a certain sense, because of the whole virus, right? The whole corona thing. That one small microbe shut down the entire world. What are the chances of that? Chances of that, not so great. Probably pretty slim. You know, people say it come from bats. People say that China made it itself. Whatever the conspiracy theory is. Right? But in general, they'll put this idea in the world. They look at all the terrible things that happen. How can there be a God in this world when everyone suffers? When a lot of people suffer, blah, blah, blah. It's an age-old question. But I just gave a very simple answer. Right? One possible answer. Another possible answer is people suffer. They could go through it themselves. They did to themselves. They transgress Kaufman's 614th commandment, don't be stupid. Right? Or there's something else going on. Right? That something else could be that they have to come into this world and their soul, if it doesn't reach its potential, may have to come back measure for measure and go through certain things that it didn't do well previously. Right? I.e. reincarnation. Definitely a Jewish concept. Another possible explanation. See, why is the person suffering? You know, can't hear, can't see. Could be for what it did in a previous life. Or that someone comes back as a rock and they get kicked around all day long. Right? Why do they get kicked around? Because they kicked around people before. They didn't have compassion. God says, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to send you back to this world. I'm going to put your soul in a rock. You're not going to have any power to do anything, to hurt anyone, to do anything. Your whole purpose in going back until I feel you got the message is you're going to get kicked around and thrown. Just like you stood over other people previously, you know, and you caused them a tremendous amount of anguish. Whatever the case is, God says, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to bring you back to this world, and you're going to pay measure for measure. So you can answer that way. You know, handicapped children, you know, other things. Could be because it's what your soul has to go through. Right? From a previous reincarnation. Now you tell me it's not really my fault. Maybe. You yourself, maybe it's not your fault. But who are you? You're your soul. So if your soul went through things, no matter what body it's in, it could come back, right, and suffer for what it did before, and then get fixed up afterwards. Right? Second possibility. But this way of thinking and putting it out in the world is a very, very dangerous thing. It's a tremendously dangerous thing. You know, and it brings doubt and everything else into the world, takes people straight away from God. That's what it does. And there's nothing worse than trying to knock God out. Right? Try and push him aside. Weaken his power. So again, you see, God still allows them to exist. He allows people to have that philosophy. He allows them to spread it. But God says, I want it out. I want it destroyed. And I'm going to give my people the opportunity to do it. And that's the obligation of us. So even if we can't do it till the end of days, at least in a physical way, we can try and get rid of this garbage from our heads. Doesn't matter what's around us. Doesn't matter what the, social media, commercials, movies, any of these things. Doesn't matter what they say. Nothing to do with anything that they say. I have to think in the right way. I have to go in the way God wants me to go, regardless whether I'm a Jew or a non-Jew, right? Regardless of anything else in the world. It's a divine command, and that's what I have to do. And I have no choice. I mean, I do have a choice. If I don't do it, then I'm going to pay a price. For sure, going to pay a price. But that's the danger. There's a tremendous amount of apathy in the world. Tremendous amount of people that suffer. When a person suffers in general, God gets thrown under the bus. Because again, people want to believe God is good. And God only does good things. Because if he does bad things, then why am I going through it? Why do we suffer? What, is God a masochist? No. You just don't understand the bigger picture. Right? The reality is we all don't understand the bigger picture. But at the end of the day, this is how it works. This is what we have to work on. Right? If someone asks my Rebbe, having, crisis of faith, everything going on, with Corona, not being able to go out, and business closed, and this, and that. So he said, I want you to say over this mantra many times a day. Don't think it, say it. And say, God, you're the one in charge. God, you run the world. That's it. There's nothing else but you. I gotta put my best foot forward. I gotta work hard. Okay? But at the end of the day, you're the one calling the shots. You're the one who put this microbe out there for whatever reason. You want to show you're still in the world? You're knocking on the door. One little microbe shut down everything. True? Got to be, able to see. But acknowledging that, you say, so big deal. So if I say it once, twice, 3 times a day, what does it change? What it changes is my outlook. Even though I know that's supposed to be my outlook anyway. But the more I say it, it has an effect on me. It has power to affect me. If it's got power to affect me, the more I say it, the more positive it is. And then I might actually drink the Kool-Aid and actually believe, that God's in charge. Because if you ask most people, well, don't you believe God's in charge? They'll say, sure. Look at the DNA of an apple seed. Look what it does. Look at the body. Look at nature. Right? Look at all these things that show God exists and it's a world of design. Yeah, but when life gets difficult, someone will say, well, that's when the faith is the strongest. Faith has to be strong all across the board. Things are good when things are bad. We just think it deserves to be better. Right? Because a lot of times it's not easy. And life isn't easy. Well, that's true. Most people would say certain things I never signed up for. I never would have signed up in a million years. Well, what did God say? Too bad. This is what's better for you. This is what I want for you. We don't have a choice. There are many things we don't have a choice in. Right? That's what free will is. Free will is limited. Do we have a choice whose parents we're born to? Nope. Do we have a choice of socioeconomic situation? Nope. There are many things we don't have a choice in. Doesn't mean we don't have free choice. Right? It means it's just limited. So we have to realize what we're living for. In Duties of the Heart, Chovos Levavos says, and Sharach Niyah about humility. Right? It says about humility, brings the Mishnah Perkei Avos in chapter 3, Mishnah 1. I think it says over there, you have to remember where you came from, where you're going, and who you're going to give accounting to. Where did I come from? Putrid drop. Right? Biology 101. Where am I going? I'm going to get eaten by worms. Very pleasant. Who do I have to give judgment in front of? The King of Kings. Chovos says there, you want to master humility? You want to really master it? That's the mantra. That's one of the aspects. To master it. To realize all these things. Now, your normal, average, Orthodox Jew, don't they believe that? Don't they know Perkei Avos? Don't they understand what it says 100%? Do they remember it in a way where it's not going to make them haughty? It's not going to make them conceited? Right? Or forget Orthodox Jews in general. If a person understands that they're only here for a short amount of time, and everyone comes from a putrid drop, Right? Where's it? Why are they not humble? Why are they still conceited? Because even if you tell them that, they say that's true. So what does that do with me? What does that do with life? What, I should be humble because of it? What if they don't believe in God? They'll say, I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. Okay. Very easy to disprove that, but okay. They can say I'm an atheist. Or I'm agnostic, but what's the connection to me? And the answer is, it's total connection. Right? Because if I realize where I came from and where I'm going, a person will never open up their mouth to be conceited. Never! Never gonna happen. But the problem is, we don't think about it. You'll say also, I have an evil inclination. So if I have an evil inclination, then I give in to that and I forget about this. And I can still be conceited even thinking about that. Who cares? Yeah, worry about it when the time comes. They don't take it seriously. Right, so that's what we gotta fight. That's what we gotta fight on a regular basis. We have to fight the fact that there's this doubt in the world that Amalek put into the world. And we have to believe, and we have to work on the belief that God's in charge. He's in charge at all times. Things are good, things are bad. And He wants us to work hard. That's what He wants. And there is no free lunch. So to the best of our ability, we have to beat this mentality out of us, meaning this mentality of doubt, etc. And that, little by little, hopefully has an influence on others, right? And eventually we get to the coming of the Messiah where we can, 100% wipe out this idea, bring the Messiah and destroy this Amalekite philosophical outlook. So I want to remind everyone, I give a class on duties of the heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock New York time. We're in the gate of humility, speaking about humility and acquiring humility, mastering humility. I give a Q&A twice a week. I do 10 o'clock in the morning New York time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Class on the book of Leviticus, chapter 13, every Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning New York time, 4 o'clock Israel time. I do Tanakh Talk every Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time. Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers. That's every Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern time in the afternoon, 9:30 at night Israel time. And of course, I have conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of these, find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkoffman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wishing everyone a great Shabbos.